Ah. Oke. Nih. Nih. Oke, Bang.
Ya baik, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Selamat sore Bapak Ibu. Good afternoon ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to our webinar today. And today we will discuss about how to your submit manuscript and avoiding the predatory journal
Recording in progress.
with Editage in collaboration with IPHKI. Oke, mungkin Bapak Ibu saya akan menyampaikan secara campur ya Bapak Ibu ya, bahasa Inggris atau bahasa Indonesia, karena kebetulan narasumber kita memang dari Editage langsung. Tapi kalau bahasa Inggrisnya agak gimana mohon dimaklumi ya Bapak Ibu ya. Baik, selanjutnya to begin our event, we will hear the opening remarks or welcoming speech by our manager that by IPHKI, that is his name Mr. Sony Eka Nugraha. So Mr. Sony Eka Nugraha, time is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Ahmad Rizal Saragi. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Distinguished speaker, Dr. Rafael Gozelina from Nova Medical School of Legon. Hello, good afternoon, Dr. Rafaela. How are you doing?
Thank you. Good afternoon. I'm fine. Thank you.
And also we have here a representative of Editage, Mr. Juventius Jaya. Thank you, Mr. Juventius, for supporting this event today, and also all the researchers, lecturers, and students from the University of Sumatera Utara that joined our virtual webinar today. And I'm very happy to welcome you all. And unfortunately, our director, Professor Hermanura, as a head of Institute for Scientific Writing and Innovation and Intellectual Property of University of Sumatera Utara, cannot join with us today because he has another meeting. And today webinar, we're gonna learn and discuss about how to submit a manuscript and avoiding predatory journal. That this event is organized by IPHKI, University of Sumatera Utara, in collaboration with Editage. And we all know that the publishing paper in the reputable journal is very important for our academic career, mostly for the lecturer and also for the student who are currently doing his PhD degree right now. And you have to make sure that your reputable publication must be in a good journal, not in predatory journal. So the predatory journal should be avoided because most of the predatory journal only take your money and do not follow a good scientific or ethical standard of publishing guideline. So today's session will help us learn how to prepare the manuscript and submit the manuscript correctly. And we are very glad that Dr. Gozelino now will share her knowledge and experience in this topic, and I hope that we can learn something useful today and use it to improve our future publication and become more high quality and beneficial for our future. And thank you so much for the editors for support this event, and thank you for all participants that joining us today. And wish you enjoy with this productive session. Finally, thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Mr. Ahmad, time is yours.
Okay, thank you to our manager PKI, Mr. Sonia Kanagra, for welcoming speech, for the warm and inspiring welcome. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we now move on to the main session of our webinar, the presentation on how to submit your manuscript and avoiding predatory journals. We are very honored to have with us Dr. Rafaela Gozalino, a senior publication expert at Editech with intensive experience in academic writing and international journal publishing. Without further ado, let's welcome, and time is yours.
Thank you very, very much. So it's a pleasure and a honor to be with you today, and I really hope that you can enjoy this webinar as much as possible, and afterwards I will be delighted to take all questions that you might have. So let me start first by just briefly explain you that the Editech is a platform where many solutions can be found for you to indeed take the most out of all the services that are being provided by very qualified people in terms of scientific writing. They can really help you out in that, the editing, the translating services, but also giving support with the publication, and also provide you guidelines about how to continue to follow research integrity and ethical assurance while providing tools and services to disseminate your data. But also, as we are here today, so you can also promote and provide inputs on which workshop or webinar you would like to assist. Of course, that they also have some solutions for publishing and corporate in terms of communication, or how to implement a technology or editorial and peer reviews, while pre and post production services are also provided. And the Editech really has decades of experience in this. So over 40 publishers are being also the partners, and this is really spread the work is really spread all over the world, as you can see by the many countries that have reached, or the many partnership with university or endorsement by the journals, society, and over 2 million projects have been executed, and more than 2 million researchers are being served. So I really encourage you to look at the Editech website and see how the Editech can be indeed supporting your research. Something about me. So I was born in Italy, and I pursue my bachelor and master's study in chemistry and pharmaceutical technology at the University of Parma. And then I continue with a second master at the University of Lerida in Spain on cell biology, and continuing then with a PhD at the Faculty of Medicine, which allow me then to also continue my academic career. And now I'm speaking to you from Lisbon, where I'm a group leader and directing my own research lab at the Nova Medical School from Nova University of Lisbon. But I'm also the founder of a network that is called the Diaspora Mundi, which is a network of professionals that dedicate their time to provide the services to leverage the quality of education and science, especially in the African continent. I'm the co-chair of a .can Institute, which is a Canadian also initiative to spread ocean technical capacity with African nation, and I'm a member of international committees for fund attribution to research project and an editor of over 10 international peer-reviewed scientific research journals. And it's a pleasure for me to really start this webinar by highlighting actually the reason for which we all need to publish, because it helps enhancing the understanding and the progress of the field of the investigations that we are pursuing, but it also helps to disseminate cutting-edge research. Because although this is not the only motivation that investigator might need to have, it is true that by publishing we improve our career development, we improve also our financial strategy of maintaining our investigation, and also it improves our reputation and credibility and our acceptance by the scientific communities. So this is why the session outline for today, we will see why is selecting the right journal so important, but also which are the factors to consider when selecting a journal, and which is the journal selection checklist that you might want to follow, which are the journal search resources that you might want to use, which then allow you to also recognize which are the predatory journals and how to avoid them. So we will finally then go through a checklist for submitting your article, and therefore provide some guidelines about the package. So why therefore is selecting the right journal so important? Because we all want a successful publication. So we want our study to be published and read and the results reproduced and cited. So usually there is this constant pressure about publishing results. And this is why many students think that either publish or perish, meaning that when we don't publish, then we are out of the academic research. But on top of that, there is the pressure of publishing a high impact factor journal, because otherwise we will not proceed. Or sometimes there is also the pressure of frequently publish in high impact factor journal, otherwise we will disappear. And today we want actually to change a bit this paradigm by saying that yes, we need to publish frequently, but above all, we need to communicate well our result, because it's not publish or perish, it's publish and flourish. So therefore, why is publishing quality content sometimes not enough? Let's see two examples of Journal A and Journal B. So the research impact within the community is in Journal A is restricted, because it follows a specific journal scope that then target specific audiences, and therefore is not as open as Journal B, which target a wider society, appeal to diverse audiences, to be engaged also with the media and with uploading or giving you the opportunity to upload video abstract or infographics, and then having an all social media support that might further increase the visibility of your article. So if you need therefore to choose between these two journals, which are pretty much the same also in what to concern the publication fee, because it's more or less the same, or it's more or less the same the impact factor. So you don't need to think so much, because Journal B will therefore help you to make the most about your finding. So whenever then you submit a paper, so as soon as the paper reach the journal platform, so there is a detailed screening to see whether the manuscript is really accomplishing all the guidelines that you can find in the journal website. And I'm really encouraging you to carefully read them to see the appropriateness of the topic that you are proposing, because this is the first thing that actually is screened to see whether also the reader and the audience that the journal have might be interested in having your paper on. And just after that, there is really a cursory screening of the content in terms of quality of the research, in terms of the relevance of the topic that you are proposing, the accuracy in terms of methodological experimentation, and then how useful is this study within the scientific research, within the scientific community. And these are also some of the questions that editors would need to reply, like, does the manuscript fit the journal scope and aim and will be of interest of the readership? Is the manuscript of minimum acceptable quality? Is the content and writing good enough to make it worth reviewing? And is the manuscript compliant with the journal instruction for authors? And just a brief parenthesis to see that all these questions are also easily responded by services that the editors have. So why should we care about ethics in research? Because we don't need just to have a duty to provide very accurate data to the scientific community, but also to ourselves, because indeed we need to achieve a higher standard of integrity and adherence, because those are the professional quality that then will path and pave the way for our career credibility. And these are common reasons for manuscript rejection. So the manuscript might be outside of journal scope. It might be too poor in terms of data novelty or data methodology to be published in a high journal, impact factor journal. Or, for instance, the instruction for authors were not accomplished and were not followed. And sometimes, in terms of length, in terms of figures, in terms of references, formatting, etc., it might lack originality or novelty. Remember just that when you discover something, it's just you that can owe that discovery. So it might be also published by someone else, and this is why then the manuscript is rejected, or it lacks significance, or there are major flaws in the study design, or ethical problems being detected, which means also that you might not have all the regulations to pursue the study, or there is a poor writing in terms of English, or in terms of conceptual writing and organization. So targeting the right journal is where authors most often go wrong. And this is especially when, you are an early career researcher and you don't know exactly where to publish. But to avoid that, you need also to be the most knowledgeable person doing that research. Because the more you read, the more also you might see whether your study fits into the journals that you are used to take your literature and from and update yourself. So there are some factors, therefore, to consider when selecting a journal. And one of that is to publish or not in open access. So what open access means is that everybody can read it. So if everybody can read it by being at your university, because you don't need any subscription, you can read it also, download it in your house. So this means that the downloads of your your articles are really higher than an article that is not published on an open access journal. And by doing some statistics, it's over 3.6 fold higher in compared to articles that might require subscription, and therefore you need to pay to download it. But also the citations are higher, and this is a consequence, right? The more people read your paper, the more are cited. And the same as for the score that then the journals and the articles receive upon everybody citing. So it's very difficult sometimes to choose the right target journals, and there are many factors that you might want to induce think about. And this is one example of where everybody would like to publish their findings, right? So Nature, Science, PNAS, Cell papers, etc. But we need also to understand that these are very high impact factor journal, and the higher the impact factor, the higher as well the rejection without going into peer reviewing. So the rejection is mainly at the editorial stage, because very few papers are then passing through the thorough peer reviewing process. And if you look at the Nature, so the rate of rejection is almost 80%. The same for Science, and 50-50 for the PNAS. But this means that indeed it's very difficult, and you need to have a cutting edge research to indeed publish on those journals. So this is why, especially when you are an early researcher, or especially when you are a PhD student, try to always be pragmatic, because the impact factor is great if you can publish it, but is a bit a gamble, as you saw from the previous slides. So you need also to balance between it is okay if I'm publishing an impact factor paper, but possibly it might last 4 years to publish, to have all the results that are needed to publish a Nature paper, and balance that with the cost of those papers, especially when there are open access, are super costly, because indeed the journal has a very high reputation. The topic, the access, the audience, the reputation, and the rejection rates. So those are really things that you need to balance, because especially when you are at the very early career stage, what you need are really papers coming out, because you need to build up your reputation, but also to show the world the credibility that you have in performing those studies. So consider always the mandate and scope of the journal, and this read it very carefully on the journal website, and also keep in mind your target audience, because this will also determine the type of article that you would like to publish. Many papers are cross-disciplinary, multidisciplinary sometimes, or interdisciplinary. So according to the journal, even Nature, for instance, you can find articles that are in many different fields, which means that you might want to consider, if your article is cross-disciplinary, a journal that targets many disciplines all at once. But as well, sometimes you might need to publish some experimental reports, and therefore you go into more selected journals, or to publish some applied research, or even protocols, and therefore you go towards some method journals rather than review journals, where you publish the highlights of the entire scientific topic. But also you might want to write some short communication, or some letters highlighting the importance and the relevance of the topic, or a cutting edge research, according to the type of articles. So then you might want also to choose different journals. But also the paper applicability is very important, because is the journal something that is, as we said before, a general journal, and therefore might allow you to publish a more general article that might interest also a broader audience, or is more specialized, and therefore you might need then to find a journal that has a niche audience to better understand the results that you are publishing on, or even more specialized, because like this you might think to better improve the scientific knowledge of that field. And this, look at the title, generally is cardiovascular disease, right? So it's an entire topic, an entire field. But then cardiovascular translational research is a more specialized than the title that we previously saw. And cardiac anesthesia is even more specialized. So this is indeed what you need to understand by writing, when you write your paper, which is the audience you would like to target. But also the audience might be a global audience, and therefore you might want to choose a journal that is publishing global results that can be reproduced by everybody, and that can suit different audience at global level, or at regional or at national level. And here I'm making an example. For instance, imagine that you might find a genetic mutation in your community that prevents from developing a specific disease. Maybe you might consider also some national or regional journals, because you might have much more impact in alerting your community about that, rather than publishing on a global one. So this is why you need really to examine the applicability of your paper. But also timing matters, because you might need to publish quickly because you need to complete your PhD, to get a job, to get a promotion, or submit a grant, or to publish results because you know that other groups are doing the same work and you want to publish first. So even the turnaround time in terms of the review speed is something that you might need to consider. Usually, the reviewing process is taking between 2 and 4 weeks, and therefore then allows you to even have additional weeks to complete the study. And in about 2-3 months, you might have the paper that is completely published and out on the journal website. But indeed, it depends by the specialty, because there are some papers that took much longer to be published, but also depend on the periodicity of the journal itself. Because if a journal is published just twice a year, so then even the review speed will be higher. So you might also want to consider the fee and the charges to publish your journal. For instance, it varies a lot even in the same journal publisher. For instance, if you look at the PLOS One, so that is the fee for the research article, but the same research article in PLOS Biology is almost the double. But there is a reason also for that, because the impact factor of the journal on your right is higher than PLOS One. So these also mean that you might have a more reputable paper to publish your result. So whenever then you look at the fees and the charges, you need to see whether there are also fees for color printing, because indeed there are, although nowadays technology gets over the publishers, and there are many publishers which only option is to publish online, there are still journals that are publishing printing, so in print. And this is why you need also to check with them so whether the how much is the fee for imprint publication, and the colors and the number of pages, and of course if it's open access. So you need also to look at how much money you have available for that publication, because just for you to have an idea, publishing something on the nature perspective in a journal, so it's over $12,000 whenever is open access. So it's just for you to have an idea. There is also something that you might want to consider, because indeed in middle income countries, those are eligible for some discount, or even sometime the publication fee is waived completely. So you might want also, according to where you are and you will be potentially if you continue to develop this career, so then you might want to assess which are your options in terms of waiving. So it is open access only, the subscription that I might look for, or as well there is something that is hybrid. And there are some journals that allows you then to disclose your article in an open access after 1 year. The article being published. So this is a compromise as well that some journals allow. But remember, all these need to be defined before then the article is published. So meaning that as soon as you submit your article, you need to select which is the type of access you would like people to have. So if we look at the journal selection checklist, so this is a sort of summary that you might want to consider in terms of journal metrics, and if the impact factors sometimes are not available, so then you can look at other ranking that are appearing on the journal website, but also the visibility, right? So is the journal index in the major databases that then you might want to look for, or if it's an open access, but also as we saw, the publication time and the frequency, so how many issues are published per year, how much time it takes for reviewer decision, and the journal selectivity. What is the acceptance rate for the journal, and what is the peer review process at the journal? This is a checklist indeed that is completed with the author cost, so the charges for open access, for color figure if it's imprinted, or the number of pages, and then the pre-submission formatting. Check it will be any major formatting work required if you have to submit to that particular journal, which means, for instance, the figure, the formatting of the references, etc., etc. And this is important for you to really look at all these, what has been done, because it's an introduction for what then we will talk about the predatory journal. So look at the journal website. So it's very important, and the difference between normal journal and predatory journal is really also on the journal website, because in a journal that is with a certain reputation, the aim and the scope are very well stated. The same the editorial board, because every journal would like to have a reputable editorial board that they are proud to show off. And you can even look at the curriculum of the editors, then look for them in the internet. There is a detailed instruction to authors for writing the manuscript, for the types of paper that are being published, the criteria, among others, the word limit, but also the formatting requirement, the style preferences, the time of publication, the author fees. There is a complete overview of what is the journal submission. And these are final tips that, in case you have some doubts, then you might want to email the editor. Of course, that some editors reply, some might not because they are super busy, but you might inquire indeed, explaining what is your paper about, what is the novelty of your paper, the relevance, and then why, especially this, why it is a good match for your journal. So why the journal should be interested in publishing your study. And remember that even though an editor encouraged to submit your manuscript to that journal, does not mean that your article will be published, because it needs to go through a very thorough peer review process. And this is also useful for you to understand how you can search for specific journals, because whenever then you see journals that you might want to publish on, you can do a short list based on the article review in the field, based on the citations of the articles that have been published. Whenever then you are not sure, you can always ask to senior colleagues, to professor for suggestion, to people that have a certain experience in journal publication. Because indeed, remember that all senior scientists wants indeed to see you flourish, and you will be indeed the future of senior scientists and professors, so that wanted to create a legacy for their investigation to continue to be conducted. So do not be afraid, and ask people with a certain experience what you can do and how. But also you might use website and online resources to identify journals, and always try to find an hybrid route. So you can identify journal based on the articles, review them based on online resources, and then you can shortlist between 5 and 10 journals and then ask for inputs. And when you select the journal, you need to establish, of course, the subject focus. So you might go through different databases as the ones that are highlighted here, the Web of Science, the Scopus, the Google Scholars, and see indeed which where you might find more information about the journal you would like to publish on, to address the focus of your article, but also in terms of coverage, right? So what does the journal have for you to be really interested even in these publications? So is providing a thorough peer review, is providing ebooks, is providing, then the link to indeed promote even some presentation about, but also the strength, right? So is how excellent is the research, how is the better access, and how you can indeed improve your citation by also looking at metric and rankings. And these indeed are the main, let's say, platforms for you to check bibliometrics for journal selection. You can also use some tools that those platform I have, like for instance, in this case, you can search for a different, I don't know what happened with this line on the screen, but you can really look that you can enter the journal, the article and the title of the journal, and then you can see the ranking. You can even look at whether there is some some option to write a manuscript title and to write the text, and then there will be the option to provide some specific suggestions for you to send to the journal. But also you can look at the journal selector, like for instance you can check for recommendation in terms of impact factors, in terms of minimum acceptance, etc. And biomedicines, so business management. So those, whenever then you put the minimum impact factor or the acceptance rate that you might want, sorry, I don't know whether I have something selected over here that I don't know how to take out this, because it seems that it's okay. Anyway, so you might want then to insert some minimum time to, you know, according to the recommendation that you are inserting over here. So then there is some potential journal on a different type of field that might be showing off. So there are others indeed, like for instance the Springer Journal selectors that then allows you to have specific suggestions with the impact factor, with the days according to the decision, and the acceptance rate. There is also a third-party journal selection tool, which means that you might have indeed to write and to type the title and the abstract, and then there are some search that you can do, and in this indeed link you might better explore how to do so, but they are also providing you some suggestions on the type of journal that you might want indeed to publish your research. And then you can look at different other resources that will help you out in selecting journals under those publishers especially. So then they will provide you the matches that are over here, so, and the journal name and the score, and then here you always have the impact factor. So there are also some services that the Editage is providing in terms of journal selection services, which is indeed help you out in selecting 3 to 5 journals, and then explain you also why those journals are good for you, allowing you to have an easier decision making with some additional information regarding indeed the justification for the selection being provided. So there is some recognition about predatory journals that you might want indeed to follow, because what we saw until now, what we say until now, is indeed helping for you to really avoid those predatory publishing. And this is indeed a business practice in which authors are charged processing fees, but do not receive editorial and publishing services. So they usually provided a very misinformation, because usually these predatory publishing are very indeed easy to be spot. The reason being that they promise you a publication with no peer review. They charge even the fee even before actually the journal being published, and then they do not carefully provide indeed some information about what is published, because they promise you to publish anything you want in a very quick manner, and then they don't have an editorial board that you can easily spot. They are very difficult to trace, those journals, and sometimes the website is very blurry in terms of information, but they are also indeed very let's say prominent, especially in Asia, and where most of the authors and the publisher are. And there are many articles that have been already published in those fake journals, because this practice is really damaging the credibility of the scientist, but also the paper will then be completely illegible for databases, specific databases, for a specific, highlight by real journal. And it might also very damaging in a very bad way the professional growth. So they are putting out a lot of scientific knowledge, which is sometimes irrelevant, and this is why it's very is creating a sort of doubts, right? And the policies needs indeed to be implemented to avoid such practices. So, how to spot the for a predatory journal? So usually you are invited to submit the papers. You are invited to submit papers with, a rapid publication. But also the editorial board is usually, if you look at their website, when is disclosed, so they have a huge geographic spread. There is never an impact factor that is clearly calculated, but they there are some usually reference to platforms that are not the user one. The physical location is very atypical, because if you look at the maps, then sometimes there are streets that the map then cannot be even find. The journal is not indexed in major databases, and they say that is indexed in Google Scholar, which, as you know, is indexing even abstract from conferences. So this is not indeed what is the best practice for a journal to be advertised. So there are many items that you can take over to avoid publishing in predatory journal, because also it is sometimes too good to be true, right? So they are pleasing you in their letter, in their email that they are sending you. That is very, how to say, is very flattering, and is too flattering. They are trying to really encourage in all possible way, but by making you feel the best scientist in the world. So there are some websites that you can look at for spotlight predatory journals, and indeed is something that you might want to look at. So there are blacklisted, most of them, and this is one of the link that then you can follow to see whether the journal that you are indeed looking at is something that is a real journal and not a predatory. And those resources that are making a list of indeed those kind of journal for you not to incur in this practice. So there is something that is good for you to really process, meaning think the best journal that you might want to submit, and then check everything also in terms of reputation, credibility, editorial board, etc., and then submit it. If you feel that indeed all the requirements have been fulfilled, so then submit after you do this checking list. And this is a checking list for a submission package. So you need to, write a cover letter that is concise, that is clear. You need to find a captivating title. You need to clear and write a standalone abstract with standalone figures and table that then clearly communicate the results. And you need indeed to provide a clear and detailed description of the method and make an appropriate use of the language, no jargon, no typos, no grammatical errors, etc. And for you to better understand what a cover letter contains is the title and the corresponding author details. You might want to provide a short summary with the main findings and importance of your paper by using keywords that highlight some match between journal scope and manuscript, but also the reason for you to submit to that journal, and also declare if you have or not conflict of interest, and then also that the manuscript has not been published elsewhere. And these are examples that then you can indeed look at that, how to do it, and you can then read it whenever then this presentation will be forwarded to you. So remember that every journal is different, so you need to study carefully each journal, and also by looking, for instance, the manuscript and the graphics and other material, whether it meets the specification of the journal. But this is very good to if you really follow the instruction, and then of course you will need to tailor all the information that you put in writing this manuscript. So check whether the journal might have a template, because this also facilitates the acceptance of the manuscript. You cannot go wrong in providing, indeed in uploading a document, if the document follow the regulation that has been provided in the template. And then also remember that you need to complete and provide the correct author's details, because then the authors will be getting notified. And if the authors are then notified, so this means that all the information in terms of address, in terms of emails, in terms of location, needs indeed to appear and be there. So always remember to check and format the references, because this is one of the reasons for which the paper might get back to you with this request. So usually there is specific formatting styles for the reference that you might want to follow. And the best thing, as I said before, is that you become the most knowledgeable person on that topic, for you then to know even the journal that better suit your article. In terms of figure and tables, always check the journal guidelines for preparing and submitting displays items, like for instance the size and the resolution, or how many articles, how many figures you will need to upload, because indeed also in that sense there is a limitation, right? Some journals allow you to upload up to 5 figures, other up to 7, etc. So the word count for figure legend is also one of the requirements that you might want to see, and the labeling as well. So check also the instruction for all the supplementary material that you might want to upload, because it needs also to be formatted according to what the journal would like. So do not forget the acknowledgement, the author contribution, the competing interest, the ethical approvals and waivers. And then these are also tools that will allow you to final proofreading and checking the formatting instruction. So, in terms of summary for this lesson, so always remember to choose the journal with the scope that matches your article and your study. Consider always the practical aspects and not just the impact factor, but be aware of a predatory journal and fake journals that might want you to submit the article, but please do not incur in such a practice because it will be very damaging for your career or reputation. Pay attention to preparing a cover letter, prepare a proper abstract, and then always ensure that the manuscript is really formatted per the instruction for authors. And with that, I really thank you very much for the time you invested in staying in this webinar. So now I will stop sharing my screen and I will be very happy to reply to the question that you might have. Thank you. Please feel free to ask any question or if you would like some clarification.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Rafaela, for your insightful and informative presentation. Okay, and the participants are welcome to submit their question through the chat box or raise their hands to ask directly. Oke, mungkin Bapak Ibu ada yang ingin langsung bertanya, dipersilakan ya Bapak Ibu.
Silakan Bapak Ibu yang ingin bertanya atau mau bertanya dalam bahasa Indonesia boleh, akan dibantu untuk translate it to English.
Thank you.
Silakan Bapak Ibu. Belum ada? Mungkin Pak Ahmad ada pertanyaan pesanan dari beberapa orang di chatnya, silakan.
Iya, mungkin oh ya, ada pertanyaan silakan. Oh, Pak Hendri ada. Pak Hendri mau bertanya ya? Oh,
Bu
bukan
Dini,
ya.
Bu Dini, Bu Dini.
Oh ya, silakan Bu Dini.
Go ahead, Bu Dini.
Okay. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your time.
I would like to explain my position
I would like to explain
as
as
a novice researcher entering the wilderness of research that requires caution in writing specific article. For example, my field of study is communication, especially related to pseudo negotiation, power, and intercultural communication. So breaking down my recent subjects, for example, as a finding a locus to submit to a reputation journal, or this case is international journal, is one a problem itself. So the finding the right journal with low fees and also with the high standard reputation is also still uncertainty. So could you mind how should I start? Could you at least provide guidance to avoid entering the predatory journal that are incredibly massively stalking the beginner researcher like me? At least I get the guideline step by step to make time consuming and pleasantly, of course, and to make it more efficiently. So first of all, before I stop, I I would like your opinion and give me a lot of suggestion to help me in particularly helping me to have the best guideline to avoid the predatory journal. Thank you very much for your kind.
Thank you very much for your kind question, and I really wish you all the best and good luck for your publication. So the best thing to try to avoid the predatory journals is indeed to look for them. There are specific lists that identify those journals, and this is indeed something that I always encourage the researcher to really look at, because the problem of publishing on a predatory journal, it might be very appealing because they might promise you a lot, but the problem is that those journals are not indexed, and therefore your entire effort in having results and do the study and publish the study, it get then lost, because then you will not have what scientists really want, which is being cited, which is your story to be reproducible in different kind of settings. And with these predatory journals, you will not be able to do that. So the first thing that I will recommend you, on top of looking at the list, is looking at all the journals that you are currently reading, for getting the general knowledge of your on the hypothesis that those are based, and make a list of the journals where you take those articles from, because those indeed might be the journals you might want to publish your story. When you do that, when you do the short list, then try to inquiry the journal itself or the editor if you might have specific fee waivers, because you might add, even because you are passing through financial constraint in your research, you might really would like to publish this paper because you see that it might be translated afterwards in specific regulations, etc., or relevant to society or to policy recommendation, guidelines recommendation, etc. And journals are also sensitive to it, because this is what I suggest you to do. Because indeed, sometimes even publishers that do not waive for countries that are financially capable to, pay for the subscription, so they are sensitive to specific researchers. So, as we to translate a dictate from Portugal, so the no is always guaranteed, but you might try to get a yes, you see. So if you don't do those inquiring, the answer, you will not get your paper, you will not get your answer. But it might be worth to do that, and this is what I really recommend: to list the journals that you usually read, to look for those publishers, to then contact those publishers by saying which is indeed the relevance of your study, and ask specific fee waivers or discount, because indeed your studies is highly relevant, but the financial constraint that your investigation is passing through, you are interested in them, but you also want them to be interested in you. I hope that might also remember the Editage as indeed websites and platform and services that help you out in avoiding those predatory journals, but also in providing you feedback, comment on how is the best way to elaborate a manuscript, to redact a manuscript. So indeed, you might also want to explore those kind of services.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Maybe I'm gonna give an additional answers about it. Actually, University of Sumatera Utara and Editage, we have an agreement that we have collaborate with Editage for providing services. And for all the lecture of University of Sumatera Utara, we from with LIPI HKI, you can get free proofreading with Editage because we already give a budget for it, and at the end of this year, the budget is still so many person that not use it. So I hope that most of the lecture here can use this facility and get a proofreading services from Editage. It's free for University of Sumatra Utara lectures for all the academicians for free, because we already in our institute we budget have a budget for it, and you will get a good feedback to improve your manuscript, and you can get more easily way to get a published in your target a journal. I think it's additional for me because there's several person that did not know about our agreement, Mr. Juventius, because we have a free proofreading services from our institute for all the lectures, and we have all the lecture can use it to proofread your article before you submit it to the journal. And one more time, if you feel hesitate to payment the manuscript or to target a journal, you can validate the journal with us before you submit it, because so many predatory journals that target the student of Indonesia and lecture from Indonesia. And once again, do not hesitate to come to our office and validate the journal before you submit your manuscript.
Sir, may I give you one question directly to you? I mean, you said that the facilitation is given to special the lectures of Sumatera Utara University, right? But beside lecture, for this case, me as a student, is it also available?
Yeah, especially for student, we have a special rate for the student of University of Sumatera Utara, and you can visit the partner website USU and Editage. I think Fasundara will be send the partner editors from at the first message from Fasundara. You can see the website. This is the website partner USU and Editage, and you can get the special rate for the student of USU. So many facilities from Editage like proofreading or like to improve your manuscript to be published in a good journal.
And also to add what Mr. Sony was saying, Budini, I think even as a student, you can get a free consultation with the LIPH KAI, right?
Yeah,
Mr. Sony,
yeah.
you can consult if you are not sure about your target journal. You can go to the office. They will help you to validate your target journal. That should be very helpful, actually.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. Maybe one last question, like Mr. Juve. One last question. Silakan Bapak Ibu, bagi ada yang ingin bertanya, silakan. Ada Bapak Ibu? Oke, mungkin tidak ada ya. Jadi once again, I would like to remind you all that so many cloning journal beside of predatory journal, because they mimic another journal, another reputable journal. Like if you see that like the only the only use different domain. Like in the real one, they use .com, and then the fake one they use .org. So before you submit the manuscript, please validate it with our institute or communicate with me or directly come to our office, or even you can send your manuscript before you submit it, and we will give you free facilitated for proofreading. And it's now and the next month we will enter November and December, and we have still much a budget for it. And don't forget, use it because we don't know yet. Even in the next year, the university will give uh, some kind that amount like this year or not. I'm not sure about it, but I hope that all the academicians will use this facility. Thank you so much, Dr. Rafaela Goseno, for your time and
Oh,
your willingness.
there is one
Okay.
question, Pak Sony,
Oh,
from
yes. Okay, okay.
Sylvie.
Okay, Sylvie. Okay. From Sylvie Anissa, Dr. Rafaela, what should we do if our submission is rejected without feedback? Is it permissible to submit the manuscript to different journal? We can
Uh,
directly answer the question.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for your question. So, if it's rejected without the feedback, it means that most probably is not within the scope of the journal. And this is why there is a rejection already at the editorial level. Of course, that there are two different things that here might occur. The editor might find your article interesting, but not for the journal, and therefore, while rejecting, it suggests to submit that article to another journal that is already speaking to. So this is sometimes useful for you to take that recommendation because it might allow you to have an entry door for the journal that has been recommended by that editor. It always needs to go to peer review, so do not take it as a positive acceptance to the other journal. But indeed, so if the editor do not provide you even so, it means that your paper is not most probably within the scope of all the publisher itself, right, in that specific field, which means that you need to reformat it according to another journal guidelines instruction that you can find then on their website and resubmit it. So if there is no feedback, do not lose one day on thinking why and how. Take it in a positive way, reformat the paper according to the new journal that you would like to submit. And you can do it right away with the same type of article. But indeed, sometimes you might need then to pay attention to length and the number of figures, especially.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Gazelino. To
Thank you
Mrs.
so much.
Sylvia
Thank you.
Anissa, if you want to have a facility from our institute like proofreading, it's not only proofreading services, but the editage services will give additional service to reformat with your journal target. So it's more easily if you use our facility, especially I don't know whether that you are a student or lecturers, you can use the facility from Editage. They collaborate with LIPI HKI, University of Sumatera Utara. And finally, once again, on behalf of Director of Institute for Scientific Writing, Innovation, and Intellectual Properties Right, we would like to deeply thank you to Dr. Rafael Gozolino for your time and your willingness to be a speaker today. And also, I would like to say thank you to Mr. Juventus Jaya for make this webinar happens today. And for all the participants, thank you so much. And don't forget, on the next month, we also have a 2 class for publication offline session. And especially for the students, don't forget to join the class and you will get so many benefit to improve your manuscript before you submit it to the reputable journal, and hope that your PhD degree or master degree will be finished at the right time. Thank you so much. Finally, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon, everyone.
Thank you.
Waalaikumsalam
Thank you very
warahmatullahi
much.
wabarakatuh.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Tanya. Assalamualaikum.
Waalaikumsalam.